But I think what makes this distinct is that at least this had a face on it. You see, there are things where we can distinguish banter. If I say I'm going to marry the Queen's grandchild, that definitely would, anyone would see that that's simply
still it is diversion.
posture.
It is a diversion.
But if the CDF is going to tell Chris Baryomonsi that, well, for what you've said, you will not make it to cabinet, and indeed he goes ahead and doesn't make it to cabinet, if the CDF says the CEO of the whole national airline is incompetent through his agents and proxies, and the CEO loses their job, then this is serious business. It's not about banter and stale cracking and joking around. All the statements that Muhoozi Kainerugaba, the general, has said have actually been effected.
Of course, he has started asserting influence. We must also
because he talked about the basement, and Mr. Eddie Mutwe went to the basement. When he talked about the killing people, families have been saying that their kings have lost lives. Yes. So this is serious business.
Yes. And he has started to come out to assert influence. And we must also accept that Museveni is aging as well. So he does not have effective control and command of the entire state. In the past years, he's been a micromanager. He has his hand everywhere. But he has now started relieving some duties to the son. Take, for instance, the UPDF. You remember the new establishment. All the powers almost of the commander-in-chief were put in the chief of defense forces. But for the case of Baryomunsi, where Baryomunsi is rebellious in nature, you remember in 2012 when he was arrested and charged with trying to
smuggle human organs,
to unlawfully extract samples from the body of Serena Nebanda and expose them to South Africa for an independent inquest. He was arrested and put in Luzera. So he has a knack for obeying or disobeying authority and known orders. Remember, he lost in SEC, and the entire state machinery fought him. He was defeated by a little-known engineer, Jonathan Asim.
No, wait.
He was defeated by a little-known engineer, Jonathan Asim, who is now the representative of Western Uganda in SEC.
So, but he wasn't alone on that. Captain Mike Mukula lost, Rebecca Kadaga lost, and some of the formidable figures within the national resistance
movement. And they choose how they react. And for him, he has chosen to take this path.
Okay.
But Yomus is very much aware that he's not going to bounce back to cabinet. In the recent weeks when the NRM endorsed Tayewa and
Anita
Among for speakership in this parliament, you remember he came out and quarreled. And he said, why are you endorsing people yet all of us are qualified for that position? Why are you ring-facing it? So he's trying to prepare himself emotionally and psychologically to be out of cabinet. And you can take it to the bank. If Mhoz is committed to what he's saying, but Yomus is as good as finished.
Edgar.
Yes, if I wanted to kind of pose a question to the current speaker. He says that the minister is a person who does not obey authority. Which order has he failed to obey?
You will answer it when his time comes. Edgar. And just how serious is Muhoozi?
I think
to take, I mean, several Ugandans think, I think this person, everyone should be able to see it. The writing is on the wall, this man is just joking around, and what he says has no effect. After all, Uganda has never invaded Nairobi to annex part of Nairobi to Uganda.
Yes, you see, I don't understand why Ugandans have that view of Muhoozi. I remember we have had this conversation before, I think with Bruce, and yes, and also with USG here. On how Muhoozi is a very serious man. And my pitch Ugandans who think this guy is a joker. And I was telling my colleagues some time back, do you remember there was a birthday that he was celebrating? I was the 48th one. That one which was popular and all that.
Countrywide, everywhere.
Yes, everywhere. And from the video that we got of that birthday, he couldn't even read his birthday speech message. And people took it very serious. There was a lot of meme, there was a lot of publicity because of that. And I was asking these people, but you guys, honestly, do you really think Muhoozi cannot read a speech? like, do you want to believe that that was the depiction of Muhoozi? This guy is dense, he cannot read. Even if you were that dense, there are some factors that make a person who they are. Sometimes the environment. I don't believe you grow under Museveni's house and be that. Sometimes the schools you've attended. Yeah, I went to Sandhurst. He was in Suvis. Mark
he was in Budo.
Sandhurst was in Budo. He was, honestly, you think it's going to do the speech. Now you can confirm that if you saw how his speech during the Talea Sita, you saw his speeches, even previous speeches, you can see a well composed man. Secondly, we know for sure, and I remember there was this debate, I think it was exposed by also Semuju or Tambede were having with Andrew Mwenda, how these two people have been friends. That Muhoozi even used to go and visit Andrew Mwenda their days in Makerere to go and visit and have some discussions. And Mali himself has always noted that now Muhoozi is very good when it comes to ideology and its philosophical questions. So if Ghanaians take this guy not serious, I pity them. This guy is very serious. So secondly, and also here I would agree, this whole publicity, just negative publicity, and that maybe they thought would be a little more interesting and more palatable to the to those people. But my worry is that we will reach a level whereby in Uganda, I think now we are going to be in a state of these mafias. Some of these appointments, I look at them and feel like they are just, or some of them are influenced by Andrew Mwenda, or because of their circle. Because now look at Alan Kasuja. Me, I was one time a member of the clan. Some of you have been hearing Andrew Mwenda talk about how he's the old man of the clan. I was part of that clan sometime. Where we would go and meet at some place, and then there are these books that you'd read and blah 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 and discuss and all that. Kasuja was like the de facto, how's it called, assistant or deputy
Secretary General.
Yeah, of Andrew Mwenda in that clan. Now we are seeing that that person is going to be leading media. You're talking about the Uganda Airlines. You saw how the exchanges that were about with Andrew Mwenda, and later on the pronouncements that were made by Andrew Mwenda, to the extent that Andrew Mwenda is sure of the guys that they will repress, those that had been fired from the Uganda Airlines, those that are going to be reinstated, and all that kind of stuff. Now, this whole thing of Valiomunsi and Kabanda. Here I do applaud Valiomunsi in a way, because honestly speaking, Kabanda's assertions and some of the statements were really below the bar. And so I like somehow all these things that they were throwing at Kabanda, which I think most of it was true. But also I think it's serious. If the CDF did decide that way, Bayoum is definitely going to be in the cabinet. So I think it's now clear to, and should be clear to the Ugandans, that now the appointing authority is Muhoozi. Like it or not, you can see it all over the place. But on the issue of Kabanda and Valiomunsi, you saw how Kabanda was. Now later on, when Kabanda was attacked by Valiomunsi, now Kabanda tried to make these insults of Valiomunsi appear as though they are not to the CDF but to Museveni.
And the wife.
Yeah, and and the wife. That since you're saying that for you, your parents agree in a way that you do not take alcohol, you're sober all the time, you're trying to insinuate that it is the president and the first lady who failed on their job of upbringing, of upbringing of their son, something of that sort. So you see now he's trying to make the waters a little more hard and vulgar. I don't think will work. But I think also I do agree. I think the fate is sealed for Valiomunsi and it's known. But also Valiomunsi really has been a very bad minister. I think even when he claims that he's true to his word as a Mchiga, I think in many cases we've been seeing him doing the opposite. He's been just like the usual nonsensical people who say yes to anything. But I think for the larger Uganda, they must also appreciate that this whole thing shows us a very bigger problem and bigger problem. That going forward, all our rights on these MPs, on ministers or whatever don't exist. These people will now have masters that they are going to serve, and it won't be the Ugandans who voted them. Because now the power centers are being established and they are very clear, and also it's now clear that when you cross some lines, even verbally, you can be taken back. So meaning your MP that you chose will have to decide. Either side with you or side with the guy who has the real power. Okay. And I can promise you they will side with the guy who has the power.
Sandra, is the transition now practically taking shape? At least you've been rumoring about it. We've been gossiping about it. It all sounded like grapevine at some point. But we knew the aspirations of the president was to have his son being the next president. Has it now been sealed and very clear for all Ugandans to see?
Honestly, if I'm to speak for most of the Ugandans, we saw this transition long time ago. And just to clarify, as a civilian, as a Ugandan who votes on what engineer just said, that Ugandans are going to realize that they don't have the power for the people they voted to be answerable to them. They're answerable to some high power that is not them. That has already happened. We go and vote and we already know that that is where it stops. And sometimes even the votes that we cast are not given to the person we cast them for.
No, at least the miracle happened in Masaka, where Namere was declared at
yeah, that's it. That's it.
I don't know how lawyers feel. Yes, I don't know how lawyers feel about that.
And the power chose.
And the power chose who it wanted.
Yes.
And this is what I'm talking about. It has already happened. This transition, what Bruce was saying, that the CDF, I think us referring to him as the CDF in this instance of him influencing who becomes the CEO of Uganda Airlines, who takes the next appointment as the ICT minister, then it is not as the CDF, it is as the first son. And maybe other, other things are going to come in, other decisions as CDF, but not in this. And we saw it long time. Remember when Honorable Mawanda was arrested?
Over corruption charges.
Yeah, over corruption. Why did it end? Because he spoke. Was it as the CDF or as the first son? So it usually comes back to all of it that, as Bruce said, this state is no longer run by the president and his cabinet. No, it is now run by the family. Someone, like he said, someone is, General Sane maybe, is in charge of the economic part of the country and the finance, and someone else now is in the appointments. And by the exchange, yes, people say that the first son is not serious, he's joking, but he's not joking. That exchange between him and Chris was
for real.
Was real. You could see that he really means it.
Sandra, we saw a letter from Namkekera of General Sali, where it said, Lukwago, if you don't apologize, if you don't retract the statements you've made, it's going to be difficult for you. He was kaput. We just saw recently. He went to Taiwan.
Yeah.
Are these things for real?
You know,
they're real.
Yesterday, Robert Mao was. Is it yesterday when Robert Rukari had a Thanksgiving at his home?
I wasn't aware.
So Mao said in his speech, was the chief guest, he said one of the reasons his wife Beatrice Mao contested for being road mayor Kampala was to make sure that the incumbent does not return.
Did you just hear that?
Yes.
Yes, and herself, Beatrice Mao was saying it on Twitter. She was already saying it, that her job is done. That's what she wanted, for Lukwago not to go back as the Lord Mayor. Even though she didn't come second or first, she did what she wanted.
The number of people here are aware that her involvement in that election was inconsequential. Whether she participated or not, the person who would have won anyway. Isn't it true?
But why she believes that she had some stakes in Lukwago not winning.
Yes, actually also, if you look at the mechanics of that Lord Mayor elections, I think they're more complicated. Because one, you will wonder, the NRM candidate, who I don't think even the name I can tell, up to date, who never held any activity, somehow won.
It was second.
Incumbent. Yes.
You beat the incumbent.
Exactly. Yes. So also, I think these people had a role they are good, that I think of playing. I think the mission for Mao and the wife was, you don't have to win. You just have to take some portion of those people. And also, as you know, Lukwago and the DP. Lukwago had great support, right from some members of DP some time before. So when there comes Mao's wife, of course he was able to neutralize that DP ground and that DP support. And I think that was the major thing. Why the other Iranian person takes to, I think, his votes, wherever they came from, and then the Mozo passes.
Okay. Sandra.
Yeah, so here as I'm concluding, is to say that I already say that Uganda is just for a small portion of us. It's not for all of us. Depending, like as you see from the decision making and all that. And before long, like you said, the transition was sealed long time ago. We are just now seeing the products of it. And by 2031, I don't think it will. By then, I think it would have already been there, like now on billboards, and everyone can see for themselves.
But for that transition, as the city himself told us, that he is not the Messiah. The Messiah is General Sali. That for him, he's just preparing the way for the Messiah. So you are confused, and we may get surprised.
Or maybe it is the other way around. And Salim Saleh is John the Baptist.
Yes.
And then
Nyangoma is John the Baptist. Perhaps
So-
now the question I should put before you,
You may get shocked.
lady and gentlemen, is that isn't it maybe now Council Benji could take it from there. The projects in the country that have been put on the name of the CDF, the Hoima City Stadium is definitely a project of the CDF. We saw the women soldiers on one of the national parades wearing skirts and putting on body stockings and looking neat and organized. Our soldiers look better. There are things that have magically happened.
Is that where you are?
Isn't it correct to say that the CDF, even with a lot of castigating, has been able to do some very positive things?
Okay. I don't know if have you ever been maybe tortured you physically?
No, I haven't. Mentally, yes.
No, I mean physical torture.
No.
Like being raped.
No, I haven't.
Like being like a pin being stuck into your scrotum. That's what we are talking about. Now, a person who has presided over proceedings of torture.
See, torture is the worst form of punishment a human being can get. When you read Article 113 of the Constitution, it talks about the appointment of cabinet ministers. And it says cabinet ministers shall be appointed by the president with the approval of Parliament. It does not say in consultation with the CDF. Now, it seems the CDF that we have does not understand at all the functions and roles and the responsibilities of the office of the CDF. Now, those roles are provided under Section 7(2)(a) of the UPDF Act, which provides as follows. The Commander-in-Chief may appoint an officer of the Defence Forces to be known as the CDF, to be the head of the Defence Forces, who shall be responsible for the command, control, coordination, and administration of the Defence Forces. Nothing else. So I wonder, what is his business in the appointment of a minister? Okay. So according to the law here, you see, it is immaterial who he is as a person. What we want him to do is to perform the roles bestowed upon him by the Constitution.
No, but
We
it's
don't
not.
want the father
From what just cited, so it's not illegal for the president to consult anyone to appoint. Yes, legal is one who appoints, but I don't think the law looks into who did you consult, what was a dream, whether, I don't think that matters. So it doesn't matter how the president gets to the equation of who
At the end of the day, the instrument of appointment contains the signature of the president.
Yes.
It is not for Moses.
It won't be that in consultation with Mozi, it's just about him and his powers.
What about the element of being realistic, Council Benji? You see, President Museveni is your father. President Museveni is 82 years. Yes. His son is 52, 51 years. That alone, even if he was not the president, even if he was an old man in Chivura who is just grazing his cows, his biggest interest now, there are so many things that he can't do in person, that he will have to delegate. And majority of the time, since this is Africa, it would be the first.
Are we trying to debate the ideal or the reality?
The reality.
Exactly. And
you're debating the idea.
yes, me, I'm on the ideal. Because when you read the national order of precedence in the protocol handbook, a minister of cabinet ranks at number 10. The CDF ranks at number 27. Okay.
I wish Sandra had a microphone on, so that at least she can be able to rebut.
You see, I'm trying to speak to the fact that our institutions are dead. Because when you see an army commander who ranks at number 27 ordering a cabinet minister who ranks at number 10, Yet the cabinet minister is doing his role. You see, the responsibility of speaking for government lies not in the CDF, but in the minister. Okay? So me, I support I support what the minister did to stand up to the CDF and tell him you are not supposed to speak for government. I do. And I find it hard to speak for government when you are also speaking for government. So I think that the CDF must know where his powers stop. He should stop poking his nose where it does not concern him. The position of government is not for him to communicate. If he wants to speak for government, let him resign his roles as a serving soldier, and then he becomes appointed as a communicator for government.
Yes, now first of all, the CDF never claimed that he speaks for the government. That's number one. Number two, I also want to inform Bwinji that I don't think it matters whether your name is like here number 27, the other one is number 20. When it comes to consultations, yes, the president legally is one who appoints. But the process of consulting, whoever consults, I think he has the leeway to choose whoever he consults. Just like even just I've had instances where just normal citizens are consulted on these appointments in the Bank of Uganda and all those kind of things. So you cannot blame the president for consulting whoever. It can be a CDF, it can be anything else.
Okay, we're stopping for a break. Let's link up in the second hour of the show. Now, when we come back, I'll be able to open the lines that will contribute to the talk of discussion. I'll be able to also read the messages on our social media handles. Don't hesitate to call in on 752-912-912, So let's link up in the second hour. Good morning.
It's tough, it's bold, it's real politics. The Big Seat on 91.2 Crooze FM. Great music.
Great music.
Great friends.
Great friends.
Somuchara.
Yes, Daddy.
You know the children are going back to school and things are a bit tight. For now, why don't you take half of the fees to junior school, and for the school van contribution, we shall pay later.
Daddy, why don't we pay using MTN Momo, where we stand a chance of winning school fees for a whole year and more? By the way, you can also apply for a school fees loan and also Sports Roundup.
No weekly sports roundup show or no? What's
Right, the biggest radio is on, and thank you so much for those that are listening in. I have a couple of messages that are coming in. You see Joab Abaho, you're listening in all the way from Isinjiro, and thank you so much. The big sit happens every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 11. We sit to talk about matters that concern you and I. It's not different this time. We're talking about the banter, you could call it, or the exchange between Dr. Chris Bayomsi, the Minister of National Guidance and Communication, and the CDF, Mhoz Kinerkava, in the first hour. I think it should be as clear as it is that Mhoz will be the next president, whether Ugandans like it or not. I think it was even more demonstrated in Kavare when we were celebrating the 45th Tare seat. But all that Ugandans need, I think, it's peace, growth, development, and prosperity for all. With me in studio is Bruce Owakunda, who is a panelist on the big set, and he's a member of the National Resistance Movement, Engineer Edgar Mtundisa, and I have Counsel Baho Sandra, who is an advocate of the High Court, and Deus Didi Bwenje is an advocate of the High Court. My name is Wesige Banyaji. Now, we know that, I don't know the right word to state the opposition of Uganda. Which state are they? I'm trying to find a word that really speaks to their situation. They are in disarray. They are in problems. They have no head. Bobi Wine is still in hiding. The deputy persons of that biggest political organization in the country are all incarcerated. And it looks like we are in for it for the next 5 years. But we also know there are a couple of elements within the opposition that made it to State House, including the former Lord Don, Yusuf Nsvambi, and Latif Sibagala, and the others, clearly to indicate they have chosen to go the Raila Amolo Odinga way, the handshake. You've lost. The best thing to do is just reach out to the person who won and has the power because you have 5 years in the cold. And the president of the Alliance for National Transformation said it's important that Ugandans look at this very seriously because it's going to dictate to where we are as a country. The statements of General Gregory Mugishamuntu in the state of our politics, he warned Ugandans to really scrutinize the kind of direction the country was taking. And he asked Ugandans to really reflect in terms of the kind of politics, the kind of leadership, the kind of citizenship responsibilities. And we are asking, how do we move on as a country? We know after an election, people are hurt. Someone invested 1 billion shillings. They lost after selling a house. Some councillor somewhere is lost. And someone is chest thumping. We had a situation in Masaka where Justin Namede was declared win after vote recount. And now Rose of the NUP has to put up with that kind of situation that the court determines. How do we move on in Yunzom as a country without either spilling blood or being broken as a country? Bwenje Deus did it. You've always categorically said the solution is in picking arms, which I doubt will definitely take us back to the 500,000 heads of people that we lost in that war. What's the best way we can move on as a country after the pain of an election?
Thank you so much. You see, first of all, freedom is not free. You have to earn it. And earning it means that part of it is shedding blood for that freedom. In World War II, it used to be said that the only good German is a dead one. And sometimes I look at members of the NRM and I wonder what exactly is going on in their minds. And you see, that statement of that the only good German is a dead one, it had a basis. It was a product, or it was a function of the heinous atrocities that the Germans had done at Auschwitz, the mass extermination of Jews, 6 million of them in gas chambers. And so I would not be surprised nowadays when someone says that the only good NRM member is a dead one. Because there is also a basis for the same. If you are a person who supports the status quo as it is now, people being tortured in safe houses. And for you, you think, that is okay. It is we against them. See, the gap, the divide, the polarization between the NRM and the supporters of the NRM on one hand, and then the opposition and the supporters of the opposition on the other hand has never been, so huge. There's a lot of animosity, because as the members of the opposition, we fear our election was rigged, and the supporters of the NRM fear that they were right to rig the election because they don't have any support among the masses. And so going forward, there's no need for the opposition to unite with the NRM, because if someone steals your election, surely it is not easy to forgive and forget and go forward. As the opposition, of course, we are in no man's land, but I think as time goes by, you shall get our bearing back. I foresee a situation where there's going to be a lot of conflict, even in families, because of which political side you support. So, and of course, the fact that the CDF now is most likely going to be the next president, it does not augur well for us as a state. I foresee a situation where being an opposition is going to be an offense. Being a member of the opposition in Uganda is going to be an offense punishable by death, even though the word opposition is founded under the Constitution. So I sometimes I look at my children and I wonder where they are going. In Uganda, where you need to support a specific line of people, and if you don't, there are consequences, bad ones. And I want to categorically state that what the NRA fought for in 1981, those ideas are the very ideas they are breaking now. And so that I saw Samson Monday in Cavalry on Thursday.
Speak to the microphone.
He was a little bit confused. He didn't know where to stand. Museveni was telling him, go away. The man was standing now nearer. And I think it was part of the deal that he gets a medal in return for him coming back from exile. So the opposition of Uganda, of course, is weak. But I want to appeal to us, we who are in the opposition, to have hope, not to stop fighting, and not to accept the CDF as of now to step on our heads.
Thank you.
We should speak whenever there is any opportunity to speak against him and what he does.
Thank you. Bruce, it looks like a winner takes it all kind of politics is what we have here. The truth is, when you lose an election, it's like a discerning judgment. It's purely arbiter. It doesn't matter. When you're not the majority, you're on a bench where the majority have taken a particular line. If you dissent, really, if anyone is going to read that judgment, it's simply for academic purposes and not necessarily for any impact. Here we are, there's a contestation. Someone is going to be voted to be president and the other would have lost it all. Someone is voted to be member of parliament, the other one lost it all. Someone voted to be a councillor, the other one lost it all. The pain, the need to seek justice, to fight back has been very difficult. Bruce, what is the best thing the NRM can do in the circumstance?
First, Banyaji, we find ourselves at crossroads. We are in a very difficult situation. If you look at both the opposition and the ruling government, we appeal to our radical bases now. There is nobody appealing to the center. There is no voice of reason. But very many times on such shows, people use words and say the country is bigger than all of us. What they are trying to mean is that a country is a historical continuity, that it has a history that goes back to 1,000 years. So 1,000 years ago, before Museveni, before Bote, a state called Uganda was there. A country called Uganda was there. Even 100 years to come, 1,000 years to come, the country will be here. It is going to outlive all of us. But Banyaji, one of the area frameworks of the NRM when it came from the bush on reconstruction of the state and rebuilding the state was the 10-point program. And third on that agenda was the consolidation of national unity. The NRM had envisioned that to implement that, they had to eliminate all religious factions, sectarianism, and also ethnicity. How far they have gone in implementing that, we can all judge. But we must also understand how we reached at this particular point, Banyaji.
Yes.
When movement came from the bush, you remember the broad-based government, the period of 1986, I think, to 1996. The movement tried to appeal to people with diverse cultures, diverse political affiliations. If you remember the first cabinet, it had NRM members, but it also had some slots for traditional parties that had been in existence, UPC and DP. But around 1996, that same period between 86 and 96, there was a lot of local pressure and external pressure from donors that the state should open political space for competitive politics. We had the movement system, individual merit versus as opposed to political parties. So there was a lot of pressure from within the country, also outside the country from the donors. If you remember, the implementation of the structured adjustment programs was initiated in 1987. They are saying liberalize trade, privatize state enterprises, reform the civil service, dismantle the monopolies of marketing boards. It started in 1987 and it was implemented in a phased manner until 1992, I think, when it was expedited. So in 1995, the Constitution Making Committee recommended that they do not open political spaces for the next 5 years. That would be whether they should open the political space or not would be decided by referendum. That is how we had the 2000 referendum, and then the 2005 referendum. So in that period of 1986 to 1996, there was some level of consensus. When we were in the movement system, politics was not as toxic and extreme as it is now. But I also want to understand the opposition. You see, polarization, this radicalism, is non-linear. It does not just happen. It has events that precede it. It is progressive. You have arrested my husband. Maybe let me say I'm a wife of Brighton Humza. You've tortured him. You've removed his nails. So some of the enablers of people being radicalized are structural. Unemployment. People are going to get radicalized. They don't earn. They cannot afford a decent living. 2, corruption, repression, and other things that justify people when they look at violence as a legitimate means to change of government. So I understand them. Some of them have genuine concerns. I have a wife. You've raided my home. You're looking for me. You found my wife. You've stripped her naked, you've taken her photos, and you're publishing them on social media. You think it is a sin that can be easily forgiven? They will have given up on trying to chase.
A mere intrusion into my private space. To see a picture of a soldier inside the living room or bedroom of an individual is terrifying in itself.
So some of these people, like how Wenja is speaking, I understand them. But for me, where we made the mistake, the first mistake and why we are here, was the transition into multi-party politics. And it was started by some people within the movement. Because when, truth be told, when Museveni went to the bush, he had no political base. That's why he performed miserably in the 1980 election. So when he came to power, he used those 10 years from 86 to 96 to build a political base, to build a strong grassroots movement, to build a military machinery. So at that particular point, they thought they had a firm grip on the state, so they could change the political system. And that's how we have ended up in this entire chaos. But at this critical time in the history of the country, we need to have a national dialogue, to have a win-win situation. Okay. If it is still achievable. Otherwise, for me, I see we are reaching a point where people are going to be walking with pangas in their pants. You annoy Edgar Mutunyisa, he cuts off your head.
Okay, thank you, Bruce. Let me get it from here as I come to Sandra. Apollo to Musime, who is a big seat, sent me on his definition of where the opposition is. He says we should understand who is opposition. Opposition is not about Bobby Wine, Michamuntu, Vesige. The opposition are the oppressed citizens of the country who don't have jobs, who are tired of injustices and broken institutions. And they are visible. In most of the polls we had, 3.5 million people vote for the opposition. This doesn't include those who cast votes and the votes are set aside. It doesn't matter how long it will take. One time the oppressed will rise, and it will rise to no turning back. Thank you, Apollo Tumsime, big contributor and ardent big seater. Sandra, some of these things you literally have to speak in your silence. If you're Winnie Byanyima, if you're Anselm Chizabesije, if you're Apollo Solomon Kampala, if you're Grigory's wife Julian Kakonge, how do you deal with this situation? One of your kins, you literally have your hands tied. How does the opposition move from this position?
To answer your question, Wesley, I'm just going to put myself in their shoes. Because I feel like their feelings, mostly for the ones, Besige's family, and then you come to Bob Wine's family, and Bruce just said that Solomon was also abusing people, and I don't know how I would have reacted in his shoes. You know, you just wake up, it's the middle of the night, and your mother is just there and doesn't know whatever is happening. And at some point, wasn't it Christopher Yomo who said, no, they never did something like that. And then the CDF comes out and says, and takes a photo, which definitely came from someone who was invading, saying, yeah, we had her, she's here. So I believe, in my opinion, like someone, I didn't get the name, what you just read, the opposition is the oppressed Ugandans. But the oppressed Ugandans, I believe we are at a state where we are almost getting tired of in some instances you realize that people are actually fitting into the oppression and they're sitting in it. They are not doing anything. They realize it is going on, it is happening, but then they'll be like, they're the same people who are like, okay, let's wait and see what the first son is going to do after that transition. Like, they have given up. And it is almost the same thing. I feel that the opposition would have been stronger, voicing out their matters at this point, immediately after the elections, but they are quiet. And of course, we know why they are quiet. Bobby Wine is being hunted and is in hiding. And we just saw
Kizza Besigye.
Yeah, Kizza Besigye is in prison. And most of these people, the NUP leadership, they're also in prison. So And the ones that are outside now are trying to have them, maybe out of prison, and some are quiet, and the ones that are not quiet are going to the leadership of the oppressor and saying, okay, now we are yours now. So where does this leave the oppressed Ugandans? The oppressed Ugandans are the ones who think that the CDF making jokes of that much manner, that he's joking. They are not jokes. But you see them under those posts and they are laughing and like, this is a commando in my books. And we're supposed to be angry at those things, at those comments. But we are not. We have reached an extent that we are being comfortable in the oppression, and at some point the opposition is just going to go away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Edgar, I think Sandra's put it clearly. Yes. Sometimes you think through which method the opposition can deploy at this point. First of all, do the oppressed exist? If at all they do they know how to free themselves? If at all they do, how come they don't free themselves? Because I saw where Bobi Wine and the so many said, we are fighting for our people that don't see cause. If you think President Museveni is very illegitimate, but he's garnering 71% of the vote, how do you explain that?
You see, Mr. Naji, might think, analyze these things a little deeply. Some people might think you're just now doing conspiracy theories. The first question should be, do we have opposition to start with? Because there are instances where you might want to side with Bobi Wine because it's sensational in that moment. But there are also many times when he himself has been complex, has been just there doing nothing. Now, like the case you're talking about, taking Mani Babi shoes, Solomon Kampala shoes. Now, for Solomon Kampala, that one I think what we're saying was largely nonsense. Yes, if it would be logical. Because you see, there are many times we have had the so-called prisoners of, not war this time around, but maybe the political prisoners. And what has happened from the party itself? The party continues. Normally the work happens. Sometimes they'll do one show, just like a media briefing, and that's all. Life continues. When those things happen, no one complains. Because why? Largely, those people who are oppressed, no one can speak for them. But now when it happens to this one big guy, because for him he's known, all of a sudden, oh my God, it's that emotional, it's that sensational. I think that's nonsense. Secondly, I think even the Ugandans could even blame Bobi Wine the most. Because when all those things are happening, our political process is happening almost daily, almost weekly, we will see again the fights of Noop wanting to have the 23 billion, which they actually got. So they go ahead, they get their money, they go and they fight for the share of the money. It continues, it's business. The party gets the money, then the headquarters, it's just business. So at that moment, we don't try to discuss the emotional thing that happened to these soldiers, the foot soldiers. No one cares about the foot soldiers. So it's all a show. Now, when that fate somehow comes a little closer to your family, Babi Chagulanyi's nails are still there. We have people whose nails were real cut. What are you talking about? Your footage. What footage are you talking about? This is nonsense. Largely, honestly. So, I don't think there's really anything big, especially with the family, with the woman's family and all that.
What? I can't imagine.
I'll give you an opportunity.
Yes. No. You come to that. You come to that.
Let's
see, Benji, yes, Benji, you cannot talk about your issue of I hear the family, they invaded the home, versus the foot soldiers who have lost lives. You don't say those ones who are, you don't say it was more of a humiliation than these ones who are losing lives. Come on. We must move beyond this whole nonsense of taking this guy to be like the kingpin and all that. He can get out with all the nonsense he can do. He can get out when he becomes complicit. And when you go and just turn a blind eye.
To just put you on the focus. Now at least the incumbent government has a responsibility. These are citizens of the country.
Yeah.
How does the country move forward in unity? Because now the boot is on the neck of the opposition. There's no doubt about that. They have lost it. They are in disarray. But the winner is the NRM government that is headed by the president.
Yes. I'm coming to that. But before that, I want to first analyze.
Please.
Because the Ghanaians have got to open their eyes beyond these shallow political leaders. Because otherwise, the debate we can debate here and let alone people will still look at it as Bobi Wine, then the other people are versus, when it's really not the case. We had from the same leader, the opposition leaders. That's why I'm asking whether we still have opposition. We had Kalonde, Bichi, and all those kind of things. Bobi Wine himself, where he voted from, he was not there. He voted, went home. And let alone, we saw he's in hiding. But what do you expect from the Ugandans? He expected from the Ugandans to vote, keep on the stations, What else was the third one?
And demand for the vote.
Demand for the vote. When he himself, after doing all that, he disappears. The son claims, how can this happen? And you guys keep on looking. He's abroad. Why couldn't he board a plane and come and come here? And need a struggle. This is what I'm telling you. This is nonsense. When you look at it, just pure nonsense. It's rubbish. Now, beyond that, after knowing that all that is rubbish, now we can start to now, how does the country heal and all this? First of all, I think the Ghanaians, first of all, even the oppressed ones don't know what they're oppressed. Me personally, I've ever attended the NRIM classes in Changwanzi. And I remember one of the lectures, they told us about primary ignorance and secondary ignorance. So one of the generals explained that primary ignorance is when you really don't know something and you know you don't know. Someone can ask you, what is this? And then you say, I don't know. That's primary ignorance. Then secondary ignorance is when you think you know, but you don't know. Or when you know the wrong information and you're convinced that you know. So some of us, whether we are oppressed or not, we really we have that second ignorance. Some people don't know. I can assure you, if you look at even these parties, like NRM, people who support it, a lot of them, I would say they are, what was the term? They are oppressed. They are oppressed economically. They are oppressed, all these many factors, even socially. But they still give this whole base. I don't know where the direction is going. So I think the solution there will be, it's really hard to find a solution here. But I think we have to have continuous discussion on, first of all, trying to position ourselves and know what should Uganda look like. I'm not saying on how to work around this reality and maybe choosing what political path should we have, because now General MK himself was saying that by 2031 there will be no NUP. He himself, I remember sometime when he tweeted and told us about how they had agreed with Bob Wine, how they quitted Bob Wine, and they had agreed to have him as opposition, but now the guy is abusing them. He's trying to turn against. He's not being a good player of his act. So, there's a lot of confusion. But I think Ugandans have just got to realize that politics is just politics. We are bigger. I think we are bigger than politics. Your brother remains your brother. People change parties now and then, and we just have to continuously work, like how General Tafiro normally says when they're asking him about the competition and tribes, and then for him he said there are only two tribes, the rich and the poor. That's why when you find the rich Muganda, Wavamuno, and Vitatori, who is a Mnyankole, and the one who is a Msoga, they all be in the same WhatsApp group. They'll be brothers, regardless of whether the tribes are different. So there are only two tribes. Let's just work hard to be in that tribe of either the rich or the poor, and we try to devise this division from our normal societal day-to-day lives. But this whole political thing is too complicated for the usual Ugandan, especially one who has no that much education, who can't analyze that big, one who has no money, even get into the picture. And then sometimes we just end up as foot soldiers, having this pedestrian conversation, almost wanting to tear ourselves apart for people who don't give a damn, for people who are even more stupid than us, the normal citizens, for people who have no any clue what they are doing. But you kill yourselves for them. They will give you all this propaganda and all these statements that will get you sensational. And when you die, we won't even hear about you in the news. We won't even discuss you here. But when their child just gets abused, it will become a national topic.
Sandra, are Ugandans worth fighting for?
Of course.
Because it looks, being an opposition figure, it's really a lonely journey. It looks like you're in it alone. Dr. Besigye, in about 2001, 2006, came out and said literally had lost all business because the state frustrated all these private enterprises, and he had to literally live off handouts and bailouts from friends. And he was all determined to fight for a people whose need was not there, and now is in the coolers of Luzira. Ugandans are producing children, enjoying their beer, living large. Are these people worth fighting for?
I believe that Ugandans are worth fighting for, but do they realize that they are worth fighting for? That's the question. Because at this point, like we already said, they are comfortable. Because most of them, like the president already says that he brought peace. When you ask them to define peace, you're going to see that the definitions they give you, they're going to say, as long as I'm able to wake up in the morning, have something to eat, and go back to bed without hearing any gunshots, then I am peaceful. We are peaceful. Uganda is peaceful. So why should I be in any way against that? But then they forget that there are some other things that show that even though we are peaceful, as in the absence of war, there are more things that should matter to you as a Ugandan, that you would even feel that it is your responsibility to make sure that you gunner for the person who is fighting for you, so that you come out of that oppression, as it may be, and realize that Uganda can actually be better, even though there is absence of war, but there is more that is there for us Ugandans than what is available to us right now. But they don't realize that. And maybe
what is the problem? At least we now know that the level of education has been upped a bit. I'm at Yale this year, and we are over 400 brilliant young people. And the same across all different universities. Ugandans are getting an education. They are A people now. Why aren't they able to realize that perhaps there is an individual that is fighting for a good cause, and the factors that they're fighting for could be affecting us, and we could join him? Why are they being adamant?
Mindset and the things we get to read. In the first time when the show started, and when this engineer was describing why Muhoozi is not dumb, General Muhoozi is not dumb, you saw what he described as he went to the good schools, said Budo, Smack, then went to Sadhurst military training. That's what we all base on. That is it. So that is the one thing that we all say is the reason as why you should say someone is better off than the other, because of the schooling. But it is the mindset, which is the same as this mindset. Because if Ugandans realize that their mindset should not only be centered on what this government has delivered to them, because they are not aware that there are some things that are better than what is being given to them, then that's when they realize that, like I already said, it is just mindset.
Okay.
And because maybe we are not as far back as, enlightened on the things that could become of us, of our abilities as Ugandans, on what we can do and what we cannot do. We are now on what we cannot do, because this government has deprived us of what we can do.
Okay. Yes,
actually,
Edgar, before I go to Bruce and
I agree with her. What she says is a very good description. I remember I was having a conversation with someone who was claiming support the NRM, and I told him, personally, I'm supporting NRM, but if I had you as a spokesperson, I think I'll beat you up myself.
Yes.
Because the reasons he had, oh my God, this Mbara, before we had Obasemani 2 schools. Now we have 40. Now we have 40.
And that was this yardstick. Councillor Bwenje, why don't you swallow your pride as the opposition, accept this was a winner-takes-it-all game, really pull off an Odinga kind of situation? Why not say, President Museveni, you won the election, we recognize the fact, but we are all Ugandans. How about you co-opt us into the governance of the country? And the president has systematically shown that that's something that he easily does. Precedents are there, right from the Speaker of Parliament to many ministers. Why not have a Kyagulanyi saying, let me get out of the of the hiding and seek the hand of the president?
See, it is better to live on your feet than die on your knees. It is we cannot shake the hands of Museveni.
Why? Now, when you say that,
because you
Bruce must be very happy.
See, freedom is not begged; it is earned. We do not want to be like Samson Mande, being pushed off the podium just because you want a medal. Okay, we must earn the freedom. We do not want to lick the sandals of Museveni and his son. If we are not going to capture power by force, we shall die trying. But to beg Museveni to give us power is something we should not try.
On the lifeline of the show, the telephone calls on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. I send my shout-outs to people that are locked on the radio. I'm pretty sure that the people around home of Chapati, they always put a very loud speaker there, listening to the big seat. I want to appreciate you so much. Day-to-day supermarket, most of the times you have the big seat on. Ruby's petrol station here at Kubiri and at the at this place at opposite the office of the RDC, and so many other places that always locking on the big seat. We appreciate you so much. Now, there are those that are ardent contributors of the big seat, from Madilu in Huma to Abaho to the so many Agava in Sinjuro, big seaters, Bel Kayongo. We appreciate you, and you're the reason we keep doing this. Now, call in on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. Drop me a line on our X handle. That's 912 Crooze FM on X. We'll be able to read some of the messages that you're sending in. But we put a question on, what do you think should government, the producer put their question on the airline, that I think you'll be able to read. Maybe then we shall have about 15 minutes to be able to read some of those messages on the airline, and I'll be able to read those. But now let me pick the lines on 752-912-912 and 780-912-910. The big seat. Hello, caller. What's your name and where you calling from?
This is Guinea Asagava from Chitoronto, as usual.
You're the biggest seater on the big seat. Thank you, Agava. You've been long lost, my friend.
You two, man, well done.
Thank you so much. You want to hear how the people are doing that side?
Now, I would want to appreciate the management of Crooze FM. For keeping time, because keeping time in Uganda has been a big problem.
Agava, are you going to talk about the topic of discussion?
You come in time, you leave in time. Remember, there is one person who said he will be president for only 5 years. The years you can't count now. It is becoming very many years. And finally, I would like to know from you, how did my uncle Sarapio performed from Uganda?
I thought you would chip in a bit of vernacular, as that our people understand you clearly. But this time around, the English has not been the problem, Agava. Thank you so much. You appreciate it.
You too, man. You too, man.
Thank you. Agava has been a big contributor of the big seat for the longest I've been on this show. The big seat.
Yes, hello.
Yes, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello, caller. Crooze FM, good morning.
Speaking to.
Hello?
Good morning.
Yes, what's your name? Speak a bit louder. Yes, please, we can hear you.
You are speaking to Hira Minister from Yamgashgatoma Machine.
Yes, how is Shema?
It is cool.
Okay, to the matter.
Nice.
We are losing you because you're speaking very softly. I don't know. And you're a man.
General Gab is our next president, I see. By force.
Okay. I think we've gotten the message. You just said Mhozi Kainerugaba is our next president. I think if it's about conditioning, I think that job has been done. Is there any Ugandan that has any doubts anymore? The big set. Yes, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Amos Bulonji.
Yes, Amos.
On the issue of
turn down the volume of that radio. Gentlemen and ladies, please, when you call in, the drill is the same. If you're going to hear yourself, we shall not be able to hear you. So you do one. The big set.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, good morning.
This is Muzawad from Chizov. I had a question.
Yes, please.
I wanted to know where is Braut from Humuza right now.
Council Bright, since he's handling those matters, I think he will be able to give the response. The caller is asking where is Bright Muhumuza right now. The lawyer will answer that question pretty much. The big seat.
Good morning.
Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm talking with Mr. Henry from Chirura.
Yes, please.
I would want to inform these people of NUP. This year we came up with a suggestion that this thing of not giving up should end. They should come out and cooperate with the government. There is no other chance. So this thing of council, when they saying we are not going to cut in the hands of President Museveni, they are going to suffer. Let us all accept whatever that comes, accept Tom Holmes to lead them, and that's all.
Okay. All right, I think that was clear. He said that all the things that Bwenje is saying is simply to pit Ugandans. We should accept that the train has since left the station. The big set.
Hello?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Tupa.
Yes, what's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Mwasimo Nicholas calling in Kashunchi Hula.
Yes, my brother.
I was saying that Mr. Council Wenge should know that our president who is coming next should be President Museveni.
No, that's assured. That's assured. He's only waiting to swear in May.
Yeah, that's my opinion, sir.
Okay, thank you. Let me end with one more call before I come to studio.
Crooze FM.
Yes, good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Morning, Mr. Banya. Mila Muzi Uganda from Sharakambi Sindro.
All right, how is it, Sindro?
It is very cool. How is Mutileni?
Mutileni is amazing, pretty cold and warm at the same time. I think we are enjoying the Pearl of Africa.
Okay, we are enjoying the show.
Oh, okay, thank you so much.
So my take on this one.
Yes, please.
I want all the panelists in the Crooze FM building and all the listeners to agree with me that our next president will be King Ugaba. And I want to assure them, whatever King Ugaba says on his TikTok handle, and Twitter handle, X, is put in action, and I don't know why they are arguing that this man might not be our next president. I see him being chosen as our next president, whether through military coup or by election.
Oh, okay.
Good morning.
You appreciate it. I think. Thank you for the wrap up. We've finished that topic, Bruce. Jennifer Bamturachi is out of Uganda Airways. We saw a picture, not confirmed, that Gime would be the next CEO of the Uganda Airlines. Is it even important that we have an airline? Public assets. Why should government be engaged in doing business? Why not focus on provision of public goods? Still, we know the hand of General Mohoz in this. What does this mean for you? And do we now have this airline eventually permanently resuscitated?
I will take one minute from my time to
Your microphone is off. Go to I don't know.
He has not actually answered the question which I posed to him.
Which question did you?
I posed to him a question. Which order?
Who is